Hello, my dear students. A very warm welcome to all of you in Shri Jayendra Rank Zone. I am your friend and mentor for the subject Business and Commercial Knowledge. In this lecture, we'll continue with Chapter 1, that is Business and Commercial Knowledge and Introduction. All the concepts will be covered in the coming series of lectures. So let us begin. This is lecture number 2. We'll begin with 1.3 Importance of Business and Commercial Knowledge for Chartered Accountants. The Chartered Accountants are the custodians of the national resources. They are responsible for putting in place a credible system of truthful and fair accounting and reporting of the society's resources. Their development and utilization, business and commercial sectors comprise a large share of their work arena. In this context, business and commercial knowledge is likely to make them more aware and responsive. Each business has its own peculiarities and associated variations in notions of product, inventory, and revenue, profits, etc. Let's see one example. A fast moving consumer good FMCG business pertains to manufacture, distribution, and sale of large variety of staples, that is groceries, bakery, and confectionery, etc., personal care products and home care products such as soaps and detergents, toiletries and cosmetics. The chartered accountant can easily develop notions of cost, inventory, revenue, profits, etc. However, we can say that in hotels and restaurants, these notions change. Moreover, in addition to certain common laws that all businesses are subject to, each business is subjected to host of laws specific to it. The chartered accountants shall be able to conduct the audit diligently only when they understand the nuances of the business whose accounts they are preparing or auditing. So, before starting an audit, a chartered accountant should understand the business well. A chartered accountant also audits pharmaceutical companies, sugar manufacturing units, and other examples. So, generally, whenever a chartered accountant is in reality auditing a firm or a company, whether it is a stock audit, it's a cost audit, it's a statutory audit, it's an internal audit, it's external audit, it's a cost audit, it's a management audit. In all the auditing, he need to understand the business well. He need to talk to the employees. He need to understand how the manufacturing is done, what kind of administrative procedures they follow, what kind of internal controls are there already there in the company. And after that, after understanding the company's perspective, how the company works, the chartered accountant can start its auditing accordingly and decide the audit procedure. I believe you understood. Getting conservant with updating business and commercial knowledge. We have noted that business and commercial knowledge domain, BCK domain, are vast, eclectic, and ever expanding. We have learned these three things in our previous class. We are also convinced that BCK is important for successful education and career as a chartered accountant. Now, how do we get to term with BCK especially if we do not have a prior background, example 10 plus 2 or degree in commerce. What if I am a science student? What if I belong to an arts community? Then how I'm going to understand this if I have a degree in humanities or if I have a degree in science? The task indeed seems Herculean, and to the top is a constant dilemma whether to focus on specialization, core discipline, etc. Core discipline, etc. Accounting and taxation, or die use our energy to use a wide topic as business. Take a trip to the tips of enhancing one's BCK quotient. Enhancing BCK quotient, that is BQ is business and commercial knowledge quotient or business quotient. Self assurance. Self assurance. Business is all around. We encounter it, engage with it in numerous transactions on daily basis. Transactions over here denotes purchase and sale of goods and services. Non-commerce background is not a handicap. If you had science, use of bridge of technology to cross over to business. If you had humanities, then there are several bridges connecting with business. Economics for sure is a bridge. History of daily lives and livelihood will act as a connectivity to BCK. Geography, the resource, the occupations, psychology and sociology, understanding of human behavior, and so on. Leverage the eclectic nature of BCK. Observation and experience are the best guides. It is all about becoming slightly more conscious of our sensory activities. Maybe an article in a newspaper, a TV commercial, or a business news, a visit to a market or a mall, browsing of the net or a smartphone app. Business is everywhere. Commerce is everywhere. Whenever you are installing an app and if you are making some payment for it, that means you are making a purchase of that app. When you are going to cinema, paying for the tickets, that means the business and commerce is involved in this because we are making a transaction. We are part of that transaction. Each one of us have six honest servants. Yes, Rudyard Kipling reminds us, I have six honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why, and when and how, and where and who. These are the six servants. Excerpted from Elephant's Child, we may therefore wear our looking glasses and set out on an exploratory journey. Practice and improvement via reflective thinking leads to perfection. We may maintain a daily journal of BCK wherein we record our observations and organize our readings, viewings, listings. So if you are having a background which is not related with commerce, that will not act as a handicap for yourself. You can definitely improve it because commerce and BCK is everywhere. An illustrative list of sources that could enhancing the BCK. You can read Business Standard newspaper. You can go through Economic Times on daily basis. Financial Express and Mint is a great help. You can put reading of the newspaper in your habit. And if you're reading some newspaper, try to read financial news. If you're reading these newspapers, automatically your problem is sorted. Let us move ahead. Let us learn about some business magazines. We have Business World, we have Business India, we have Business Today, Forbes, CNBC TV 18, BTV, NDTV Profit, and ET Now. If you want to watch some business channels, NDTV Profit, ET Now could be a great help. If you want, you can also visit to CNBC TV or BTV. Having elaborated the BCK domain, their importance for a chartered accountant, and the means of enhancing BCK, let us turn our attention to rest of the objectives stated at the beginning of this chapter. Let us begin with human activities, economic and non-economic activities. In short, I can tell you there are two types of activities: economic activities and non-economic activities. Human activities are bifurcated into two types. Economic activities are those activities which we generally do it for money. Some finance element is involved in it, and non-economic activities generally is performed for satisfaction, for personal satisfaction. The finance is not involved in non-economic activities. A friend is helping a friend. In that case, the finance is not involved, non-economic activity. Our waking lives are all about activities. Many activities are engaged in are purposeful. Usually, we dichotomize these activities as work and play. These days, it is more common for adult working persons to talk about work and simultaneously to talk about life, the latter implying family time, time for one's hobbies, causes, etc., and strive towards balancing the two, that is, work and life. There should be a healthy balance between work and life in a person. We work to earn living. All that we do to earn living compromise economic activities. All that we do to earn living compromise economic activities. Rest are referred to as non-economic activities. Interestingly, while the economic activities are distinguishable merely by the presence of livelihood motive, a variety of motives are attributed to non-economic activities also. Concern for fellow beings, affection and love for family, passion about some hobby or cause such as animal rights, forest, nature conservation, street children and destitutes, etc. Usually, economic activities are said to be driven by rationality. What do I get in return, or what is in it for me, or self-interest, because economic terms means something in return. Non-economic activities are driven by emotional and sentimental reasons, or altruism, etc., selfless concern for the welfare of others. Thus, human engagements in all social, religious, cultural, personal, and recreational, charity, and patriotic activities are bundled together as non economic activity. Roving eye, economic and non economic activities. In the first picture, there is a chef And obviously, this chef is not working for free. This chef must be working in a hotel or restaurant and getting a regular salary. That means this is an economic activity. Chef working in a hotel kitchen on salaried basis. On salaried basis. That means what? It's a economic activity. This means what? It's a economic activity. That's the first picture. The second picture, it's a street vendor. In this picture, the street vendor is selling some chicken roll or paneer roll and egg roll. So obviously he must be charging some price to it. He has written over here 10 rupee, 20 rupee, 25 rupee, 10 rupee. So we can say that vendor selling food, selling food on streets, on streets. It's a economic activity. It's a economic activity. I believe you understood. The third picture where a lady is cooking in kitchen. A lady is cooking in kitchen. Assume this lady as mother. So mother is making food in kitchen. Obviously, she is cooking for her family, and that is why this is a non-economic activity because a lot of sentimental value is attached to making food for the family members, and they are not going to pay her for sure. Mother making food, preparing food in the kitchen, in the home kitchen for family members. For family members. Satisfaction is involved in this process. A lot of sentimental values attached to it. So it's a non economic activity. Non economic activity. Non economic activity. I believe you understood this. Fourth picture, two friends are playing carom for satisfaction. They are not playing and winning and getting money. So two friends are playing carom for their satisfaction. For their satisfaction. They just want to enjoy non-economic activity. Non-economic activity. Fifth is PETA, people for the ethical treatment of animals. People for the ethical treatment of animals. Rabbit is shown over here. Non-economic activity. Non-economic activity. Improving the level of awareness in the society. The objective is improving the awareness level in the society. in relation to animals and their ethical treatment. Here we can see there are few ladies who are trying to protect this tree. The ladies are trying to protect this tree. So this activity is also non-economic activity. Non-economic activity. A lot of human value is attached to this picture. A lot of human values is attached to this picture. Conservation of conservation of environment. They're doing it for conservation of environment. Next picture. Over here, there's an old lady and everyone is celebrating with her the Christmas celebration. This picture looks like as a Christmas celebration. We can say that it's a old age home and people are coming here and celebrating for the celebration of Christmas. They are coming here. This will give them personal satisfaction. A lot of sentimental values attached to this picture. So obviously this is a non-economic activity. Non-economic activity. People are celebrating Christmas in an old age home. Eighth picture is a picture of a Gurudwara where the langar is offered. People are sitting in line and having their food in a langar. Non-economic activity. It's a non-economic, this picture shows a non-economic activity because in Gurudwaras they don't charge people for having langar or for taking prasad. Next picture is there is a tree, there's a pot, and the water facility is there. Obviously, this is not chargeable facility, so it's a non-economic activity. Non-economic activity. So people should come and drink water, the one who is thirsty. So water is offered. Water is offered to the one who is thirsty. Who is thirsty. I believe you understood. I believe you understood this. Let's move to the next picture. In this picture, we can see there is a person and who is having a cycle, who's a cycle repairer and who must be repairing bicycles. Obviously, it's a small shop. It's an example of sole trader, sole proprietorship. So he must be charging for it. A small shop, a small shopkeeper who is repairing bicycles, was repairing bicycles. Economic activities. Economic activities. In this picture, we can see there is a girl who is working on a machine, sewing machine, and we can see it's a picture of a factory. Another lady who is working on the same kind of machine. Economic activities. Economic activities. This girl must be working in this factory, in this manufacturing unit on salaried basis. We can see in this picture there's a lawyer. We can see a lawyer in this picture, and it's look like that lawyer is in the court premises. So obviously the lawyer must not be working in the court for free. He would be handling his clients and obviously charging fee. A lawyer charges fee from the clients for his services. His services. Economic activities. Economic activity. Economic activity. I believe you must have understood this economic activity and non-economic activity. Roving eye number 1 above provides a pictorial glimpse into some economic and non-economic activities. Are not these distinguishable? Obviously, these are distinguishable. Non-economic activities people generally do because it's a habit, or they are doing because a lot of sentiments is attached to it. They feel satisfied, so a level of satisfaction is there, and so on. It is interesting to note that even non-economic activities have an economic dimension. Example, time, money, and material resources are needed to make this happen, both in terms of large initial expenditure as well as their day-to-day operations and management. However, neither the investors nor those who volunteer to work in these kind of activities seek any material gain or regular income from these activities. Supposingly mother is cooking food, so obviously a lot of raw material is required, or vegetables is required, rice is required, wheat is required for cooking food. So economic element is there in cooking food, but the one who is actually cooking food is doing it for satisfaction, for family. So there is no economic gain which that lady is deriving from making food. So in fact, the motive or intent behind any activities is such a singular strong determinant of the economic and non-economic dichotomy that say if I engage in home making, that is cooking, housekeeping, etc., for my family, it would be deemed as non economic activity. If I do so for others for an income, the same activity will be deemed as economic activity. However, the world needs to understand that if we wished the best minds, hearts, and soul to work for the solution of the problems facing by the humanity, we must and ways of offering them the best rewards and compensations. I believe you must have understood till here. I believe you must have understood till here. Distinguishing characteristics of economic activities. Distinguishing characteristics of economic activities. Economic activities have several distinguishing characteristics other than the motive of earning a livelihood. Let us be more aware of these. In the process, we shall also be able to situate business as an economic activity. First, economic activities are income generating. We have already understood this, that economic activities are income generating activities. One may earn a livelihood in several ways. For example, income earned by rendering personal time, physical and psychic energy. In other words, through one's sweat and intellect is called earned income. And the income earned by letting out one's property is called property income. In economics, individuals comprise as processors of one or more of factors of production, labor, land, capital, and entrepreneurship. These are known as the factors of production. I repeat, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. The return of labor is wages. The return of land is rent. The return of capital is interest on capital. And the return of entrepreneurship is profit. The corresponding income characterization in exchange of or compensation of their factor, services or wages and salaries, rent, interest and profit, it is not necessary that all these incomes may be earned in the form of money only. These may be earned in kind too. For example, a landowner may compensate the tiller of the land in the form of food grain. It actually happens. In the ancient times, it used to happen, but it actually happens these days also. Then the landowner may compensate the tiller in the land in the form of food grain. A lot of people are there who have land but they are not doing farming. So what they do is, they there are different farmers or there are landless farmers. They give their land to these farmers. These farmers grow crops on the land, and they divide between basically they divide the food grain as a 50-50 or 60-40 in a predetermined ratio. The nomadic pastors who bought their herds to gaze and stubs left to the harvest were often paid in the form of food grains. How much each factor will earn? The factors earn accordingly to their contribution to the production. In other words, income is generated in the process of production. Next is, economic activities are productive. Man cannot create matter, obviously, but using ingenuity, man can transform matters variously to produce the goods and services of the satisfaction of various needs. Production essentially is the process of creation of man satisfying goods and services. As a corollary, earning of a livelihood implies participation in the process of production. When the early man sets out to hunting the animals and gathering the fruit and firewood, he engaged in productive activities. Farming is productive too. Practice of the craft, pottery, textile is an instance of productive activities. Generation of electricity, manufacture of automobiles, and writing of software programs are all instances of productive activities. Teaching, medicine, law, accountancy are all productive activities. Production may be done either for subsistence, that is self consumption, or for the market. For the market. A chartered accountant can do accounting for himself also, and he can do accounting for his clients also. Supposingly there is a doctor can treat her daughter also, give her medicine, prescribe her medicine also. If he is not feeling well, he can take medicines accordingly, and he can also practice in terms of doctor and treat their patients. Production represents the supply side of economics. More so if it is of the market. Here, its scope is broadened not only to include the place where it takes, but also the entire range of activities and occupations devoted to delivering the production to the market, transport, warehousing, intermediaries, example, wholesalers, dealers, retailers, and so on. The next is even consumption is an economic activity. I repeat, even consumption is an economic activity. Consumption represents the demand side of economies, that is, the goods and services on which the people will spend their income. They buy those goods and services. Production is organized in response to the demand. Different products compete for buyers' attention and spending. In fact, every unit of demand is likely a vote in favor of product and signal to its producer. Next, saving, investment and wealth. Upspent income comprises savings. So, saving is done from income only. Supposingly, someone earned 10,000 rupee. He has consumed consumption. Consumption is 6,000 rupee. In that case, saving would be 4,000 rupee. So saving is a part of income only. The financial sector, that is banks, non-banking financial companies, NBFCs, mutual fund, dealers in stock market, real estate, gold, etc., are the channels through which the savings are converted into investments and hence wealth. The corporate sector and the government borrow the savings and invest these into creating and operating civil, military, and business infrastructure and other productive pursuits. I hope it is clear. Distinguishing characteristics of economic activities. We have learned that economic activities are income generating activities. Economic activities are productive in nature. Economic activities, so even consumption is an economic activities because when we consume, we buy and we pay. Savings, investment, and wealth is a part of economic activities. The next topic that we are going to discuss is business is an economic activity. Business is an economic activity. We have seen that market oriented production, better than production for self consumption, represents supply side of economics. It is common to refer to shift from subsistence driven production towards market driven production as commercialization of production or production on commercial scale. We have also seen that for the production to occur at a commercial scale, a wide array of interconnected activities needs to be put in place for linking production, supply side with consumption, that is demand side. With this background, we can now attempt a three-tier definition of business. From the broader perspective, business may be defined as economic activity. So business may be defined as economic activity. If it's a non-economic activity, it can't be a business. Economic activity comprising the entire spectrum of activities pertaining to production, distribution, trading, exchange of goods and services. As such, it refers to aggregate of all the business industry, construction and manufacturing, trading or service enterprises, state owned or public sector or private enterprises, proprietary or corporate sector enterprises, micro, small, medium and large enterprises, whether it is a domestic enterprises or it is a multinational enterprises. We will take up a brief description of these items later. It is usual to clarify over here that business into industry, trade and commerce. So business is bifurcated as industry, trade and commerce, the latter incorporating all the industry, trade related services or auxiliaries to trade, which is aids to trade. That means services which are actually there to helps to trade. I'll quote some example, that is banking services, warehousing services, insurance services, transport services, warehousing services. These services are offered because these services these services act as a help or aid in the proper operations of a business. If the business is earning money, it will definitely keep the money in the bank. So the money will come to the banking system or banking channel. If the goods are transported from one place to another, the facility of transport is required, and obviously we need to take insurance also. The goods need to be stored properly in warehouses. So warehousing will act as a aids to trade, auxiliaries to trade. I believe it is clear. Here a question arises. Is agriculture an industry and hence it is a business? Its answer is it depends. In India, much of the agriculture is subsistence agriculture. Moreover, agricultural income under the Income Tax Act is characterized separately from income from business and profession and exempted from tax. Thus, for our purpose, agriculture does not compromise industry and hence business. I repeat, for our purpose, agriculture does not comprise industry and hence business. However, the manufacturers where agricultural produce is processed and whose key material ingredient is agricultural produce do compromise an industry. For example, extraction of edible oil from rice bran, mustard, coconut, soybean, etc. represents agro-based industries, and hence these are businesses. From the medium perspective, business refers to a particular type of activity or industry such as retail business, real estate business, information technology business, IT business, iron and steel industry, transport business, etc. Thus, 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 a firm may introduce itself as follows. We are a food processing unit. We are a food processing unit. From a narrow perspective, business may be defined as one's usual occupation of creating, owning, and actively operating an economic organization, that is, a firm. The phrase usual occupation is important for infrequent, isolated transactions, even if these might result in profit or loss, cannot be called as business. Let us see if we indeed can comprehend the three levels of analysis of definition of business. Reality check. Here are few headlines from news channels, newspapers. Let us see if these pertain to the definition of business in its broadcast, immediate or micro level. India's infotech meltdown. Is IT sector facing its worst crisis? India's infotech meltdown. Is IT sector facing its worst crisis? So over here it's talking about IT sector. That means they're talking about industry. They're talking about industry, IT industry. Industry as a whole. Business confidence at all-time high. CII report by ET Bureau. Business confidence, but it haven't told that which business confidence. That means it's a general statement, and we can also say it's talking about industry. Tata Motors Q4 profit down. Business standard. Okay, so Tata Motors, that means it's a business. Business. Over here, we're talking about business. SME IPOs raise 514 crore by this year. The Hindu. SME IPO. If I assume SME as a company, in that case, it's a business. I believe you understood. Let us continue. Distinguishing characteristics of business vis-a-vis other economic occupations. Other economic occupations. The other economic occupations are employment, employment and profession. So we need to differentiate between business, employment and profession. While business is an economic occupation, is vastly diverse, yet only a small portion of population, more so urban educated population, engages in it. For example, of all of you pursuing chartered accountancy, only a few percentage is going to start a business. Since CA is a professional qualification, most likely you are going to practice as an independent professionals or would take up a paid employment in some company or a firm somewhere. We have thus introduced two other distinct occupations, that is, employment and profession. A brief description of these two occupations would be in order to before we elaborate the distinguishing characteristics of business. Let us begin with the employment first. Employment. Employment is what? Employment is a contract of service between employee and the employer. So there are two parties, employee and employer. The contract elaborates job description, for which post you are hired, what is your role of work, your job description, the job sheet, and the periodic compensation that you are going to receive, known as wages and salaries. In terms, wages usually denotes factory workers, and salary denotes to office staff and managers, etc. One has to undergo a detailed process of recruitment and selection for one's engagement in employment. Usually, minimum qualifications, educational, technical, and professional, and prior work experience are prescribed. Fresher may be initially recruited as interns and required to undergo a training process, and one is expected to perform as per the terms of employment and performance targets assigned from time to time. There is a minimum assured income tenure certainty and reasonable opportunity for career progression and promotions. Working with PwC, Price Waterhouse Cooper, as as back office employee. Back office employee. It's an example of employment. It's an example of employment because over here you'll get a monthly salary. Your package will be fixed. The compensation will be fixed. The job description will be fixed. The roles that you are going to perform in the company is fixed. Let us continue with profession. Profession is rendering of services of a specialized nature necessitating prescribed qualification, and this is for a fee, not for salary, under a COP, which is Certificate of Practice. A chartered accountant also requires a COP, that is Certificate of Practice, from an established certification, accreditation, examination, and assessment body that also imposes a code of conduct. Profession can be pursued as independent practice or under a contract of employment too. Accountancy, architecture, designing, engineering, law, medicine, increasingly even management are assuming the attributes of a profession. In this profession, example, medicine, if in employment, the professional are entitled to non-practicing allowance too. A doctor A doctor practicing in his or her clinic is a profession. A tutor teaching in institute is a profession. A chartered accountant working or practicing in his own firm, profession. I believe you understood. That's a logo of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI. The word profession or professional in common parlance is used to distinguish from one's amateurish substandard performance or practice as a part time or hobby. Professionalism is often associated with perfectionism. A professional is the one who do things perfectly. The word is also used derogatively to denote that one greedily works for money. Historically, however, professions emerged in pursuit of nobility, demonstrated highest levels of integrity and highest levels of ethics, which are a part of profession, and hence were held as a high esteem and social status and respect. Chartered accountants, for example, represent a noble profession for ensuring truthfulness and fairness in the conduct of business, and hence instrumental in ensuring its trustworthiness and hence the integrity of the entire economic system. The logo of the institute from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, is suggestive of the vigilance expected from the CA. Vigilance. Having certified the meaning and nature of employment and profession as economic occupations, we are now in a position to delve deeper into the nature of business. Before we do so, it would be useful to do a recapitulations of the main point of difference between business, profession, and employment. So we can say that the reward for business is profit. Business is done for profits. Profit is the objective of business. The reward of profession. Generally, a professional charges fee, a high level of ethical value, integrity is associated with the profession. And profession is the word which is related to perfection. The one who is professional means he should be he should perform the work in a perfect manner. Employment. Generally, employment comes with the employment contract where the roles and responsibilities of the employee is defined properly. The reward for employment is regular salaries. Regular salaries. We are stopping here. We are stopping here. Let's recap what we have learned in today's class. Let's quickly recap what we have learned in today's class. We begun with importance of business and commercial knowledge for chartered accountants. Why chartered accountants should have the knowledge of business and commercial knowledge. Getting conservant with updating the BCK. Enhancing the business and commercial knowledge quotient in students. Self assurance. Non commerce background is not a handicap. Observation and experience are the best guide. Each one of us have six honest servants, and practice and improvement via reflective thinking leads to perfection. Kindly go through these newspaper on a daily basis and put it in your habit of reading newspaper, and if it is a business newspaper, that is really going to help you. ET Now, ET Economics Times, and Business Standard, you can give preference. If you want, you can also shift to Financial Express and Mint. You can also watch some business channels like NDTV Profit, ET Now. Some examples of business magazines is given over here, like Business World, Business India, Business Today, and India Forbes. You can refer that also. That will enhance your understanding of business and BCK. Human activities are divided into two parts: economic activities and non economic activities. We have learned this in detail. Roving eye, the bifurcation of or differentiation of economic and non economic activities. So, over here, a set of 12 activities are listed, and we have understood that which activities are economic activities and which activities over here is non-economic activities. In detail, we have understood this. We have shifted to the distinguishing characteristics of economic activities. We learned that economic activities are income generating activities. Economic activities are productive activities. Even consumption is a part of economic activities. Saving, investment, and wealth is economic activities. Business as an economic activity. We have learned that, for example, extraction of edible oil from rice bran is business. So if you're doing farmer, even the income generating from agricultural sector is exempted in terms of income tax in India. But if you are doing extraction, or if you are using the agro products in secondary industry, you need to pay tax on it. We have seen the reality check. Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai is standing over here. The picture of him is there. India Today. Distinguishing between the business as well as other economic occupations, which is profession and employment. It's interesting. The difference between business, profession, and employment. We've done it till here today. From here, from this point, we're going to resume in the next class. I believe you must have understood everything what we have done in today's class. Thank you. Thank you.